Back to TransGuyReacts. My name is Nik. I make videos about women's basketball, collegiate or professional, and today I'm talking about the WNBA games for September 22nd. It's a Sunday. It is the beginning of the playoffs, and there was a lot going on today. But before I get into the games, I want to talk about Asia Wilson. So she wins the MVP for the 2024 season unanimously. This is her third win, which is freaking crazy. So she won in this year, 2022, and 2000, and she averages like 26 points a game, 11 rebounds, almost 27 points and 12 rebounds. And she's the first player to ever score 1,000 points in one season, which is wild. And she joins Cynthia Cooper Dyke. And is that it for the second player to win unanimously? Yeah, just Cynthia Cooper Dyke, which is crazy. And she's the fourth player to win three MVPs. So Cheryl Swoops, the GOAT, and Lisa Leslie and Lauren Jackson have all won three. So she's in that honorable mention, which is really cool. When you win the MVP, you do win a little bit of money. You win $15,000, which great, and you get a trophy designed by Tiffany and Company. But $15,000, I mean, after taxes, it's probably like $7,000. So whatever. But get into the games. For the playoffs, the Atlanta Dream took on the New York Liberty, and there was no Aerial Powers or Cheyenne Parker Tyus for the remainder of the season, so the Dream were without them. But the game went exactly how I thought it was going to go because the Liberty have been playing really well, and the Dream have been playing really well. I just didn't think they matched up really well with the Liberty. In the first quarter, John Cole Jones did get into a little bit of foul trouble, and she had to sit out a little bit. But Liberty were in control of the game. It was 16-29 at the end of the first. The second quarter, they were in complete control of the game. But the defense was really great. So it was 30-48 at the third end of the third quarter. It was pretty much more of the same, 49-69, and then the final of the game was 69-83. So New York probably is going to win this series, but I think that the next game, the Dream will be more competitive, but this wasn't a very competitive game for them. Ryan Howard had 14 points. Tina Charles had 12 points, and those were the only people in double digits. So, like, Alicia Gray had 9 points. Leticia Meher had 8 points, but yeah, just like no offense going on. And then for Liberty, but Nigelina Hamilton had 10 points. Brianna Stewart had 20 points, 11 rebounds for a double-double. She had 2 steals and 3 blocks. Lena Fibich had 21 points, the German phenom. Sabrina Nescu had 17 points. So, yeah, just like a really great outing for New York. The second game of the day, I believe the first game was on ESPN. The second game of the day was the Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun. That was on ESPN3 and ABC. Tiffany Mitchell was out of that game for the Sun, but everyone else was available. I don't normally watch Fever games because they have a pretty large racist fan base, so I just don't, patronize that franchise. But it's the playoffs, so I made an exception. Taisha Harris does get injured in the beginning of the game, and she doesn't return, so that's not so great for the Sun. Chrissy Sides does end up getting a technical foul because she got mad about a no call or something like that. I don't know. In the first quarter, it was a pretty tight start, but the Sun had the edge, and it was really physical. It was 20-23 in that first quarter. In the second quarter, again, another close quarter. There was lots and lots of coverage about how great Caitlin Clark is, but she was playing pretty terrible in the game. She only had 3 points in the first half, but they just kept talking about how amazing she was over and over again. In the halftime, it was 38-46. The Sun were starting to kind of pull away. In the third quarter, the Sun were playing ridiculously well. Marina Mabry was hitting some threes. Clark commits a flagrant foul with a shot to the head to Dejanay Harrington. It's so hard that Dejanay, she like hits her in the head so hard that Dejanay loses her contact, has to put it back in. But they don't even call it a common foul, let alone like a flagrant foul, which it was. She gets away with a lot of no calls. But a couple minutes later, not even, maybe seconds later, she fouls her again, and they do call the foul. But at the end of that third quarter, it is 57-68. Very, very clear that the Sun are in control of this game. And then in the fourth quarter, Alyssa Thomas does kind of twist her ankle, and she has to go out of the game, but it turns out she's okay, but that was a little scary. But the Sun, they have pretty much locked up this game at that point. The Fever were getting their asses kicked, and I love to see it. Plus, it's nice to kind of rub it in the face of all those Fever fans who came to the Connecticut Sun game to cheer on the opposing team, and they saw their team get their asses kicked. It was absolutely ridiculous. Alyssa Thomas actually got a triple double as her fourth of the season, and that game was a blowout. It was 69-93. 69-93. That is just embarrassing. Embarrassing. Okay? Embarrassing. For the Indiana Fever, Aaliyah Boston had 17 points, 11 rebounds for a double-double. Kelsey Mitchell had 21 points. Caitlin Clark had 11 points. Damaris Dantas had 12 points. Yeah, she was a negative 20 on the plus minus, Caitlin Clark. Wow. That is atrocious. For the Connecticut Sun, DeWanna Bonner had 22 points. Alyssa Thomas had 12 points. 10 rebounds, 13 assists for that triple-double. Dejanay Carrington had 14 points. Marina Mabry had 27 points. Just a fantastic night for the Sun. And I didn't really see too much of Melissa Smith, because I think it's interesting when Dejanay Carrington and Melissa Smith play each other, because they're a couple. So, but I didn't really see much of that. I think after the game they had a little conversation, but they weren't really playing against each other in the game. But anyway, the next game, which was on ESPN, was the Phoenix Mercury versus the Minnesota Lynx. Dorka Juhas was considered day-to-day. I don't think she was in the game. Charisma Osborne was questionable, and Rebecca Allen is definitely out for the season. She had like a surgery, apparently, that was successful, so great for her. The Merc have not been consistent all season, and the Lynx have played exceptionally well this season, so I kind of knew that the Merc were going to lose this game, but in the beginning of the game, I was like, ooh, the Merc were not playing really good. The Lynx came out super hot. It was 19-32 at the end of the first. And in the second quarter, the Merc trying to close that gap. They did kind of close the gap. It was 42-56. I was like, okay, being a little bit more respectable here. And then in the third quarter, the Mercury were making it even more respectable. It was 69-77. And then in the fourth quarter, the Mercury cut the lead to 1 point. And with 6 minutes left in the game, they actually get the lead with 4 minutes and 44 seconds left in the game. They were just battling it to the end. But, Bridget Carlton and the Lynx were prevailed essentially. And the Leaks were able to hold off the Mercury and give it to them in like the last few minutes of the game. They were able to like maintain a pretty good lead. And then Sophie Cunningham of the Mercury did foul out with 9 seconds left in the game, which I thought was kind of funny. The end score for this was 95-102, so not a bad score. The Mercury did come back. So, that's kind of promising. Maybe they could win one game. We'll see. And it was also a career high for Nafisa Collier. She had a great game. Now, look at the box score. Kalia Copper had 16 points. Brittany Griner had 10 points. Diana Taurasi had 21 points. Natasha Cloud had 33 points and 10 assists for a double-double. That is a fantastic stat line. For the Lynx, Bridget Carlson had 12 points. Nafisa Collier had 38 points, which is her career high. Kayla McBride had 20 points. Courtney Williams had 9 points, and Maisha Helens had 10. So, that third quarter, the Mercury did win that quarter, and then that fourth quarter was actually, they won that quarter too, but it wasn't enough. Just wasn't enough, unfortunately. And then the last game of the day, which was really annoying because for me in my time zone, it was like a game at 11, a game at 1, and a game at 3. But then the last game was on at 8 o'clock. So I was like, what the fuck, dude? It was way too late in the day. Anyway, the last game was the Seattle Storm versus the Las Vegas Aces. Ezzy McMilvore is still out for concussion protocol, so she wasn't in the game. And but it was still a fantastic game. The Storm and the Aces play such fun basketball together. The first quarter, the Storm came out gunning, and they were in total control. And most of the Aces were just cold, shooting super cold. It was 18-9 at the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, the Aces start making a run, and it's 42-38. So a really big jump in points as well. In the third quarter, Asia is in her bag in that quarter. It's like a high-intensity quarter. They're going back and forth, scoring. It was a really fun quarter to watch, and it ended 65-64. It was just tit for tat. In the fourth quarter, Jewel Lloyd, you could tell she was having issues in that game with scoring, and Kelsey Plum kept trying to hit threes and they weren't falling, so that was a little frustrating. But the Aces did get it together. They were able to kind of figure out what their skill sets were, and they were riding those pretty high. And towards the second half of the fourth quarter, the Aces were able to create a good amount of space between them and the Storm. Tiffany Hayes and Chelsea Gray were just like in their bag completely, and it was just beautiful basketball. It ended 67-78, so the Aces did win that game. Wow. So in the first quarter, the Aces only scored 9 points, but in that fourth quarter, they held the Seattle Storm to 2 points. 2 points in the fourth quarter. That's wild. Really great defense. For this game, Gabby Williams had 14 points. Nicole McKay had 13 points and 10 rebounds for a double-double. Mercedes Russell had 8 points, but she also had 12 rebounds. She was really close to having a double-double. Skylar Diggins-Smith had 16 points, and unfortunately, Jewel Lloyd had a bad night. She only scored 6 points, so they really locked her down. For the Aces, Jackie Young had 12 points. Asia Wilson had 21 points, 8 rebounds. Chelsea Gray had 16 points. Tiffany Hayes had 20 points. So just a really good night for the Aces. And they played really great defense, lots of steals, lots of blocks. So it was a good game. Really fun. Of all those games, I would say, like, if you wanted to pick one to rewatch, I would rewatch the Storm versus the Aces game. That game was very entertaining. Very, very fun. All right, that's it for today's recap. I will see y'all in the next one when they play on, I believe it's Tuesday, for the next round of games. All right, talk to you later. Peace.